read the translation. But the last line, which is really interesting. The soul, that self-restrained and virtuous person who recites these 8 verses, glorifying Dhamma, becomes cleansed of all sins and duly proceeds toward Vishnu's abode. Oh, whichever abode you wish to go to. So, I quickly put this together a little bit this morning. I hope you can see it on the screen. Today being the all-auspicious occasion of the Janananda. And this is since 1969, so how many years? Is it 47? 47th Rath Yatra this year, I think. Yeah, it'll be the 47th. The first one's the first, right? 47. 57? Thank you. You saved me. 57. 57th Rath Yatra in London. So, some of you have been coming for a long time to this Rath Yatra. I don't know when our first Rath Yatra in London was, or somewhere else. But now, of course, it's going on in the UK in 40 plus cities or towns in the UK, correct? Yesterday was Watford, I believe, unless they got flooded out, I'm not sure. Yesterday was Watford. Somewhere else today, there's another Rath Yatra going on in Islam. In India now, how many Rath Yatras Islam have is reduced a little bit because of a law which has been imposed. That in India, every single Rath Yatra in Islam has to take place between the official Rath Yatra day, Puri, the outward Rath Yatra, and the return Rath Yatra. So that's a matter of 8 days. So ISKCON has to have Rath Yatras wherever they are between that period. But that's not the case all over the world, but in India it is. So it does tend to reduce the number of Rath Yatras which they're having. I think in Delhi they're having about 100 Rath Yatras a year or something, so they've had to reduce it somewhat because of the time frame. But they're still having dozens of Rath Yatras in Delhi during that week. And luckily in the West, Sister law does not apply. Or anywhere outside of India, basically. I don't know how many Rath Yatras are going on worldwide. It'll be something close to 1,000. I would say up or down. Within ISKCON. And then there are many other groups holding Rath Yatras here and there. It's such a great festival. So we can look at a few pictures and I'll talk a little bit about it. I just put this together. It's nothing very much. And I suppose others have done much more than this, but I don't have access to it. It'd be a wonderful thing to do a beautiful presentation of Rath Yatra in the UK. I think we've done it on day one. I'm not recollecting seeing such things. Who knows when the first Rath Yatra in the UK was? Well, I already gave you a hint just now. You may remember, I don't know. The first Rath Yatra in the UK, which year? 1969. Many of you were not born in 1969. And that Rath Yatra was from Marble Arch, about 200 meters down Park Lane. At that moment, the Rath Yatra car collapsed and didn't move an inch more. And it was the biggest traffic jam in London's history. They carried on us from there to Trafalgar Square by hand. But that was an interesting start. I hope it's improved a little bit. Do we have one or two or three carts? Three. Because sometimes I've seen one, usually three. In those days, of course, there was only one cart. And later it became three. I don't know what year it became three, but when I was living in the UK, it was always one. But now it's good there's three. Tissue probably. Well, that's not London, as you can see. That's just a painting of Rath Theatre in Puri during Lord Chaitanya's time. In fact, you can see Lord Chaitanya dancing in many places if you look carefully on that picture. Several, well, not many, but several places you can see him dancing. This is a very simplistic painting of the festival during Mahaprabhu's time. The Rath carts were huge, and the tenants, as always, was huge. And Lord Chaitanya organized 7 parties. He directly organized 4 parties dancing around the chariots. He chose the lead singer, he chose the lead dancer, he chose the mridanga players, he chose the kartal players. Everything was very organized. It wasn't a free-for-all. It was free, but it was for Krishna. Everything was very focused on the purpose of Rath Yatra, to fulfill Srimati Radharani's desire to bring Krishna back to Vrindavan. And there's that picture. It's not so recent, but it's a picture nonetheless of Jagannath Puri. That's not London. That's not Hyde Park in the background there. But this is Puri, and you can see the magnitude of the festival on that picture. The street is packed for as far as you can see. And all on top of the buildings, there's people everywhere. I don't know how many million people they say attend that festival. So we're not going to read this. Well, we'll read it, but we won't delve on it. Everyone was astonished to see the decorations on the Rath car. The car appeared to be newly made of gold, and it was as high as Mount Sumeru. Quite a high Rath car. It appeared, and the devotees. And this is quite a famous purport, which Srila Prabhupada wrote to us for us in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the chapter dealing with Lord Chaitanya's dancing at Rath Yatra. So Lord Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, in the year 1973, there was a gorgeous Rath Yatra festival in London, England, and the car was brought to Trafalgar Square. The London daily newspaper, The Guardian, published a front-page photo caption, ISKCON Rath Yatra is rival to the Nelson Column in Trafalgar Square. I'm sure you're familiar with this quote. The Nelson Column is a very impressive statue of Lord Nelson and can be seen from a good distance. Just as the residents of Puri compared the Rath Yatra car to Mount Sumeru, the residents of London considered the car a rival to the Nelson Monument. She's Prabhupada amazingly expands that article in the Guardian to include all the residents of London. Well, from the spiritual point of view, there is no comparison to the mundane statue of Nelson. The Rath Yatra car, which is completely transcendental. Everything about the Rath car is transcendental. pulling the rope. It's more effective, just by pulling the rope once is more effective than thousands of Ashwamedh images. It's so powerful. We may not be quite there, but it's such an amazing festival. We'll hear more about that later. That's the picture which was in the garden. This was taken at a slight angle, almost as high. There are pictures which make the Rath car look much higher than Nelson's car. And this is a long, we're not going to go there particularly, I would love to. My time is short. One of the most significant aspects of Jagannath Rath Yatra is the unending, unlimited mercy of Lord Jagannath and of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is a mercy festival. The Lord gives His mercy to everyone. When you go to Puri, many of you have been to Jagannath Puri and you've seen. Some of you may have been inside the temple if you happen to have a brown body, and especially if you were born in a Hindu family. If you're not, you will not be allowed in the temple in Jagannath Puri. But there's a deity of Lord Jagannath named Pratikpala at the entrance of the temple who gives his darshan to everybody. But on Rath Yatra Day, Lord Jagannath, they come out of the temple, as you know, and they are carried on tulis. They're cotton pads by very strong daitas. Daitas are descendants of the Shabaras who used to originally worship Lord Neelamadhava, who was reformed in the earlier part of this, let's say, day of Lord Brahman, who was worshipped in this universe. And then, of course, he appeared as Lord Jagannath. That's the story which will take the whole time. Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra to be installed by King Indradyu and others in a glorious temple there in Puri. And to this day he's been worshipped there in the form of Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, Lord of the universe. So he comes out after the Anavasara. Yesterday we saw Lord Jagannath leaving for London yesterday. And normally you won't see him until the Rath Yatra festival begins. But we had a special mercy yesterday. He came out a day early. He must have recovered quickly. We have very good doctors here. The doctors were really recovered quicker than usual. So he came one day early and he wanted to go to London for a day to get ready for the Rath Yatra. Probably getting, maybe getting some new clothes for the Rath Yatra. Went shopping in Paris or something. Something like this. We went somewhere yesterday. And today he will be coming out of Soho Street Temple to go to the Rath cart. So they take him out upon the Vijay ceremony in Puri. That's a ceremony to bring the Lord off the altar in seclusion to Anavasara and onto the Rath carts. And then they're taken one by one, and these great strong deities are very powerful. They're originally from a pig herder caste, but they're like, some of them are like little Brahmanic priestess. So they're the ones who look after Lord Jagannath during this period. They take him onto the cart and they bounce him on tulis, and it's a big festival. Huge kirtans going on. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is there, and he's in ecstasy when Lord Jagannath's coming out of the temple crying, Mahima, Mahima, Mahima. And at the same time, the king of Puri, who had been almost giving up his body for years in separation from Lord Chaitanya, who would not give him darshan. Annually, the king of Puri sweeps the floor in front of the Lord as he comes out of the temple. Not when the cart starts moving, but when the Lord comes out of the temple onto the cart. We do it when the chart is moving. But the tradition is as he's coming out of the temple, he sweeps the floor and sprinkles the floor with beautiful sandal, scented water and so on. And then the Lord comes up onto the chariots, 3 separate chariots, of course. And Lord Chaitanya noticed the king rendering this menial service. Now the secret is not that he was necessarily rendering the service. We may also do that, but we may not get the same result. It's a matter of the attitude in the mind. The same with pulling the ropes. You may get free of sinful reactions, but to enter into the kingdom of God is another thing. It's the question of the heart, the consciousness, whether it's kirtan, deity worship, pulling the chariot, everything is all auspicious. But the degree of, let's say, the degree of reciprocation will depend upon our consciousness. So the king's conscious, he wasn't thinking, just see how humble I am. I'm the king of Orissa. I'm more than that, actually. And I'm sweeping the floor. Look at me. And I'm good at it also. See how good I am. Those thoughts never entered his consciousness. He was thinking how I'm the most fortunate person to be, although most unqualified, fallen, wretched creature, to have this opportunity to sweep the floor before the Lord of the universe. He was in a totally humble condition. Humility is the key to Rathayatra. And that's just a painting of the chariot going along. There's Lord Chaitanya. Now, if we have time, we'll read something about Lord Chaitanya's dancing. His dancing is one of the most ecstatic, let's say, sections of the Chaitanya Charitamrita to get us in the mood for Rathayatra. We cannot imitate Lord Chaitanya's dancing. It is not to be imitated. It is to be heard and to be meditated upon, but we cannot imitate it. Anyway, we won't say it anymore. Maybe we can read it a bit. And while the Lord was dancing, is a very wonderful pastime took place. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was the priest of the king of Orissa, King Pratapavuru, as we mentioned, he had several priests, but the lead priest was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who constantly assured him that don't worry, Lord Chaitanya will indeed give you his darshan in due course of time. Do not give up hope, even though he has refused to see you on so many occasions. He tried everything he could to get the darshan of the Lord, but the Lord would refuse him. Even Janananda appealed to the Lord, but Lord Chaitanya would not budge. He said, I know he's a great devotee, but he goes by the name King. He goes by the name King, and I cannot see a king, a person who's worthy. But this was all Lord Chaitanya's reciprocation or relationship with King Pratapavuru, to show the path of pure devotion. And this is the end of that pastime, which is the subject in itself, never ending, but this is the perfection of that pastime. Sorry about the poor quality. But at this point, on the parade, is a place called Balagandhi, which is a it disappeared from the screen. It's a shame. Did you see anything before this? Oh, I can't go now. And no answer. Who's the technician here? Thanks, that was the technician. It's a shame not to see the rest. There's some work. Anyone, carry on. At this point, Lord Jagannath stops. The Rathayatra parade stops. You can't do this in London. They don't let you stop the parade. They push you forward. You can't stop any. Shame. Is it back on again?
No.
It's not back on. Is it back on?
No.
Pardon? Okay, it's trying again. Well, whatever Lord Jagannath's desire is, make it happen. suppose he disposes. It'd be nice to see some of these early Rath Yatra pictures. So there at Balagandhi, the Rath Yatra carts comes to a standstill, and Lord Jagannath, after having danced and danced with his associates for several hours, madly dancing, enters into the nearby park, Parva Gardens, and he enters in there. This is the beginning of Vrindavan. As you know, the Rath Parade is basically going from Kurukshetra to Vrindavan, although in some ways it looks like it's the opposite way round. On our Rath Yatra in London, we start at a park and end up in the square. But anyway, that's our transcendental vision. So that place they stop, and at that point, everyone brings offerings for the Lord. This is another merciful aspect of Lord Jagannath. We don't have to be a Brahmin, or anyone who wants to offer with a sincere heart. Bring some preparation. The whole street, apparently, I've never seen, but the whole street, probably not now, but it used to be, completely covered with offerings. Tens of thousands of offerings for Lord Jagannath. We have reenacted this in places where we can stop, but London is not one of them. Anyway, that's what goes on. And then Lord Chaitanya goes into the park with his associates, and they rest until the Lord has had his meal. And then they return for the rest of the leg of the parade. So Lord Chaitanya is lying there, and the king is on the street. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya then informs him, now is your opportunity. Now enter into the garden. But first of all, you have to change your dress. Take off your king's dress and put on a simple dress of a mendicant. Tell me if it comes back on. Oh, it is back on. We're back in the park. That was the break he was having in the sun. We're not meant to see when the Lord takes the program. So he's finished his meal. Now we're in the park. And the king puts on his see, it's a bad quality slide, but at least it shows. A simple dress of a sadhu or a mendicant, a simple devotee. No one recognized him. And he entered in there, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya told him like this, and then you take the permission to the devotees and you massage the Lord's lotus feet and legs, and you recite the Gopi Gita. And I assure you, you will get all the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. This was what king was waiting for many years, this opportunity. He entered in, and the significance about changing the dress, because Prabhupada talks about that in terms of book distribution, that authorizing devotees to wear civil clothes when they go, or any type of clothes that works for distributing books. Prabhupada writes it in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Says you can wear civil dress if it helps to distribute books. He writes it right there in the purport. It's a refutable statement. Whatever we wear, whatever state. The king, to achieve his purpose, changed his dress. But the real thing is not the change of the external dress, it's the change of the heart. It's the heart. We have to take off our false identities, sort of upadi vinayam, to get rid of all of these false identities, thinking we're Indians and English and men and women, brahmacharis. One of the significant things is, well, funny enough, Lord Chaitanya, before the Rath Yatra started, the parade, he chanted many verses, and among them was a famous verse, which you may know, Naham Vipro Janananda Happy Vaishya Novanastoya Tirva, and so on. He chanted that verse before Lord Jagannath. Very significant. You're not a Brahmin, you're not a Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmacharya, Vihasta, Vanaprasto, Sannyas. To remember who we are. We're not going out on the Rath Yatra parade for a social event. We're not going out, I don't know what the weather's going to be like today, to show off our latest hairstyle, or our latest goatee, or our latest tilak marks. latest tune in kirtan, or whatever it is, the latest rhythm we've learned on our djembe, whatever you play out there, or a latest dance style, or whatever, or just to socialize. I see some of the pictures in ISKCON now of Rath Yatra festivals. So many of the, especially the Indians, are on their mobile walking along in front of the Rath Yatra track. It's really a shame. I don't want to use the word offensive, but it's close to it. It's close to it. You think the Lord would happily go back to Vrindavan if all the gopis were, on mobiles, looking at the news? I don't think so. Remember what the heck are we out there for? We're not out there to have a bit of fun. We're out there to please the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates and the Jagannath. That's what this festival is for. And by doing that, every single person who sees this festival is on their way back to Godhead. It may take time, but let's speed it up a little bit. I don't mean speed up the pulling, but speed it up by our consciousness. Focus on it. Enter into the festival. So anyway, having said that, the King Prataparudrana massaged the Lord's lotus feet and legs and started to chant it. The candle was going on. Immediately Lord Chaitanya came to consciousness. He was in a kind of a semi-sleep condition. He woke, he said. He came to his consciousness. Carry on chanting, carry on chanting. And he did. He carried on chanting all the verses of the Gopi Gita until he came to the famous verse, Tavakatam, Kavigiritam Kavasham, Shravanamangalam Srimadatatam, When he came to that verse, then immediately Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rose up and grabbed the king in his arms and embraced him with both of his arms. You have given me the most valuable jewels of all. I have nothing to give you in return. I can simply embrace you again and again. And they danced together, embracing each other, chanting this prayer of Radharani over and over and over again. In this way, the king received the full mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with his humble service, his humble mentality, his humble heart. And there's a beautiful painting of Rath Yatra. So many paintings that I would have loved to have shown some videos, but it's not possible at this point. Of some early Rath Yatras, even Rath Yatras in Jagannath Puri, which were filmed during the British occupancy of India. Very exciting. They were quite respectful in some ways. Okay, we're going to start a little bit now. We're going into our present era. And as we all know, Srila Prabhupada, right from a young child, maybe 5 years old or something, insisted that he have his own Rath Yatra festival in Calcutta. So his father, Gomohan, obtained a little Rath car, and sure enough, little deities, and Abai, along with his friends, performed the Rath Yatra festival in the local neighborhood around the block, and everyone was very blissful. So that's just a beautiful little painting depicting that event in Calcutta. Way back there about 1900. Well, here we go. This is not 1969, it's probably 1970 in London. Can you see it? Is it on the screen or not? And you can probably see quite a few London bobbies there, right? Hold on. I don't think they call them bobbies anymore because you don't see them. You hardly see them now. They're always hidden in cars. Occasionally you see them on the streets, but generally not. But then the streets were full of bobbies. They were called bobbies. They had these bobby hats. And they were all, see what they look like. They were all very official. And they're completely surrounding the whole parade. Okay, all the way around, completely around the car and everything. Let's see another one in the net that shows. And this is on the stage. Now, could you put me back to the other way? Because I can't see what I'm looking at here. I need to see on there. Some of the devotees may know, but I can't. There's one which shows the whole screen for me. It still shows the whole screen for you, isn't it? Which one is it? Someone put it on this. It wasn't on this before. Swap display, is it? Is it that one? Yeah, that's it. Oh, now you've got the other one on the screen up there. Okay, put it back. Oh, it's very simple. It's just one button press. If you don't know how to do it, put it back where it was before so that you can see it. Because I don't have to see it. Is it the full screen? No, it's not.
Yes.
You have to put it on that?
Yes.
Oh, you're a genius. You have to come with me. But now I know it. You're not a genius. Oh, you put it back where it was before. Okay. Stay there. Okay. I can't see very well. I can see Kula Shaker on there. I can see Saraswati. I can see Shamsunder. Anyway, they're all there. Anthony there. And many other early devotees in London. Dhananjaya's there. Probably Balagopal, probably maybe Leela Shakti is there. I don't know. Maybe she came maybe it's 70, she may or may not be there. She came in 70. And there is Leela Shakti, so this is, yeah, it's probably, maybe she just joined, that's her dancing. Many of you know, who knows Leela Shakti? Who knows Leela Shakti? That just goes to show how things have changed here. Any of you have heard of Kulanga?
Yeah.
Anyone heard of Kulanga? She still remembers that.
Yeah.
How many years ago she passed away?
Yeah, it was, it was 2014.
No way. 2014.
No, 7
Pardon?
2017.
17.
17. Okay.
7 years, 8 years ago. Ooh. Anyway, Leela Shakti, I saw her. You see her from time to time. She's still around in the temple. But she was the Pujari of Radha Londoneshwar. Goodness knows how long. 20, 30 years. And anyway, and other devotees too. And there's a little closer up picture. I don't know if you can see it well. The bob is right next to the chariot. It looks a little unusual chariot, doesn't it? It looks like an elongated balloon or something. Now we're moving forward. I really didn't get time to collect many pictures this morning. But 1973, the most famous Rathayatra Prabhupada mentioned in his purport in London. This was probably the most famous of all. Srila Prabhupada was personally there. He came in 72 also, which was also quite famous. 1972. That was the first Rathayatra I attended. Many of us initiated at that time. On the square, we had the initiation right there under Lord Nelson's column. And the fire yoga, everything was held on the square itself. And that year no one said anything. The officials didn't say anything. But they did. They complained about it. They didn't stop us. And Prabhupada in 1973, they said, they actually said no to fire. So the devotees said, well, we're not going to have the fire, just a few candles. But they did the fire again. 73. And it was very famous and also had an interesting effect on future Rathayatras in London. So on that picture you can see Hansa Dut, you can see Manu, you can see Janananda, there's Radha Vishnu, Putra Maharaj is there on that picture with Prabhupada dancing all the way. Prabhupada usually sat on, there was only one cart in those days, so he would sit on his Vyasa-san the whole parade, but that year he didn't sit on it at all. He never got up there for a minute. He danced the whole way from Marble Arch to Trafalgar Square. Longer parade, another kilometre. But he danced the whole way, and as you heard, probably Shruti Kirtan probably informed you of some of the events on the parade. He was the one who had to try to tell Prabhupada to stop dancing. A futile attempt. Totally futile, like telling Lord Chaitanya not to stop dancing or something insane. But he tried, he wasn't successful, of course. And everyone was dancing like crazy. I won't get into that. I told that story a few years ago on the 50th anniversary. But that is not 1973. I don't know. I was looking for the picture of 73, a specific picture which showed all the tents in the square, but I couldn't find it this morning. It wasn't possible. But that is another year. I don't know if I can't say. It might be 72 or 74. I'm not sure. But you can see how crowded Trafalgar Square is. I say it's not 73 because the whole square was covered in state-of-the-art tents. Another thing which infuriated the council, because the devotees didn't really explain what they were doing till they did it. It's the only time in history, I think, this has happened in Trafalgar Square, that half the square was covered with tents. And not only that, but they hammered, with big metal things into the square, bang, bang, smashing slabs and so on. And as the wrath car came into the square, it knocked over several bollards. And coupled with all these, there's other events, the street being blocked on both sides by thousands of dancing devotees, so the traffic was built up like anything. The police were going crazy. And then the fire and the tents and everything else was just one thing too many for the local council. And that was when we had to desist from having the wrath car on the parade. So I'm not sure which year this is. I don't recognize it as 72, but that's why I think it's 74. Savarg Swami is on there. It's Hari Krishna Das, Narahari, Gaja Hari. It's too small, I can't recognize it. Many older devotees were on that page. So that was, most of that crowd, by the way, are white. They're white-skinned people. You know what they look like? White-skinned people. You see some sometimes on the street in London. They're still there sometimes, are they? In Paris, in many parts of Paris, you do not see, isn't it, Janananda? You don't see any white-skinned people, right?
Almost none.
Almost none. Many parts, even in some parts of the city centre, you hardly see a white man. London's not like that. Well, now we're going to San Francisco. Now, San Francisco Rath Yatra started, the first one to start. When did that start? San Francisco. When did it start? I apologize about this. A little Getty Images. I probably meant to pay £300 for that picture. But anyway, it's just a photo shoot. Photo copy, whatever you call it. When did the first Rath Yatra in San Francisco start?
67? 67?
Somebody said, I heard, what was that, what you said?
67.
67, what do you say?
68.
68, any other rises on 68? Any other offers? 66, any other suggestions? You'll get it, I mean, we've got it already, but it's interesting everyone's giving a different figure. 67, first one was right, 67. Prabhupada started the San Francisco chapter in 67, and before even, Jagannath was there, But there was just like a shop off. There was no real temple in ISKCON before Radha Krishna anything came. He started the Rath Yatra festival. Jagannath was the first deity in ISKCON to be worshipped. Very significant, very important. And Rath Yatra was the first festival really to be held, public festival of any significance with Rath Yatra. 67, I mean there was only two centres, San Francisco and New York, Robert wanted to have. And they did it on the back of a back truck. It wasn't like a Rath Yatra car, it was very simple. I could have put a picture of that one, but that's not very exciting. They did it anyway, and it was very exciting. And they all got to the shore. They went to the shore on San Francisco, on the ocean. Well, at the shore, it's hippie time, 67, there's so many hippies there. My father was sick, he didn't go to the Rath Yatra, he stayed in the beach, he had a retreat centre there. And the Devoas were on the beach and they really having a great time, and it became even more blissful when some of the hippies were distributing sweets and candies to everyone free of charge. It was love and peace in those days, you know. And then many of the Devoas also took these candies and be careful, this is a warning, what you eat, what you don't eat. But they were taking them to, you know, simple candies. And they became extremely blissful. So blissful, they didn't know whether they were on the Earth planet or the Mars planet or where they were. They didn't realize that all the sweets were full of LSD. And the roads were all intoxicated. And that's why many of them didn't see Prabhupada. They went up to see him afterwards, but many of them couldn't come. They were still completely intoxicated. So be careful, don't eat food not offered to Krishna. You'll become intoxicated. That is an interesting picture of the Rath car in San Francisco. At the end of the parade, they kind of let it down. It looks very interesting how the people were stood around looking at it. It looks like a deflated balloon. 67, 69, this is 69, not 67. These pictures are 69 in San Francisco. Krishna's there, Janananda's there. Janananda's right in the front of all of them. On the chariot there. Prabhupada's there. And there's Prabhupada, 1970 I think we're at now. Krishna Maharaj, I think is there. I'm not sure. Maybe it's the others have the last there. Again, it's a parade. They used to go through Golden Gate Park in San Francisco, and they'd have this golden form of Lord Chaitanya dancing in front of Lord Jagannath. 3 carts had started there. Lord Chaitanya dancing. As he would dance. He'd dance, and Lord Chaitanya's dancing was pulling Jagannath forward. And sometimes he stopped seeing the blissful dancing of Lord Chaitanya, and his followers just watch. And sometimes then Lord Chaitanya would go to the back and push, and then Lord Jagannath would go forward. Like this, the festival was going on. So they'd have this beautiful, huge model of the deity of Lord Chaitanya, golden form, on the parade in front of Lord Jagannath. And there he is in the square. You can see Lord Chaitanya there. And Srila Prabhupada sat on the stage at the front. And there were thousands and thousands of young hippies mostly sat in the audience. Huge area. Keshav was telling me the other day, he was there. He was at the back. This is not 70, this is now, this is actually 74. He was at the back on the book table with Vaisheshika Prabhu, and they were looking. They could see the whole crowd. And there's a famous scene on that stage where Prabhupada stood up, and there he is, raising his hands. And everyone's Mahudaksh Prabhu's there. Jaya Tirtha was there, and Swami was there, and there's Mother Lisa's there. It's an amazing festival. And Prabhupada rose his hands, and the whole audience, he said to me, the other day, the whole crowd, thousands of people rose and put their hands up and started to dance like crazy. And Prabhupada put his hands up like that. And Prabhupada started jumping. You could see him, he was jumping up and down in ecstasy. Don't know what happened there. Oh, that's the end. We've come to the end of that. Okay. Short are you reading from? What is that? Janananda? I don't know if he chose that purport. Did he choose it? Maybe he chose it.
The one who's reading, he can choose what he wants.
This morning's one. You chose it, did you?
He chose. He himself chose.
Okay, he must have been quick because that was one of the ones I was going to read as a quote. One of the quotes. I'll read some others. Anyway, here's one to back to Das in 1973. Now introduce Rathayatra. That was my childhood activity. I want to see my disciples all over the world introduce two items, opening Radha Krishna temples and Rathayatra festivals. Do this under the protection of Guru Garanga. In 1973, Prabhupada, one thing which many of those perhaps don't agree on, maybe don't understand, I don't understand, whatever. But Srila Prabhupada would sometimes change his, let's say, directives according to time, place, and circumstance. Whatever worked to achieve the purpose with Prabhupada's journey. It wasn't like, the famous example Prabhupada gave, mother is born naked, therefore she should always be naked. We sometimes say like that. Doesn't mean that things should always externally stay the same. Internally everything remains. The philosophy is not changing. How we present it may change. Just like we heard about changing dress. So later on, 1977 for instance, Srila Prabhupada gave the directive that now we need lots of outreach preaching, not so much temples, but outreach preaching centers with little cafes and preaching rooms. That was the last directive Prabhupada gave on Western preaching in terms of detail. Two items. So at that time, yes, he wanted to see temples all over the world in different countries. This book distribution and Rathayatra festivals should go on all over the world. I want to introduce this Rathayatra festival program all over the world. Talking about book distribution, there's a very nice devotee outside the door there. I presume he's still there. And he has a nice display of Prabhupada's books for all the nice people in London today. Not for us, exactly. They're for us to share with the people on the street. This is how Lord Jagannath will really smile on you. Dancing, pulling the ropes, distributing prasadam, whatever the services are required, and especially the distribution of books. I missed the 1973 parade because I was asked to distribute books, so I got stuck at Marble Arch for 2 hours distributing books before I managed to find out where they went. And like that. This is how you really get Lord Jagannath's special mercy. Distributing books. How you can go back to Vrindavan. Always try to distribute books wherever you are, even if you're in the... I have one disciple, 78 years old, who goes, well, she doesn't do it now, but she was going to the ocean, swimming every day. She sold a Bhagavad Gita in the ocean while she was swimming. When they came out of the water, she preached to in the ocean. When they got out, she sold them the Gita. She had them in her bag on the shore. Take books wherever you go. Whether you're going to the bathroom, whether you're going to take your shower in the house. You can if you can read it. But on the street, in a clinic, in a shop, visiting friends, in the office, take Prabhupada's books with you. So please, you'll see out there, if you can, I think you can get the books off him now if you're going to the Rathayatra. You can keep some in your bag. And maybe you'll remember you got them there. And maybe you will be very fortunate to offer them to somebody. That fortunate person will be receiving an enormous amount of mercy. The association of Srila Prabhupada will give them Prabhupada's association. Please do. everyone can do at least one book today. There's 10,000 of us, that'll be 10,000 books. At least try. That was the Madhavista convention. And here's one to Bhutatma Prabhu, which Prabhupada wrote when he was here in the manor. If we introduce this festival, Prabhupada says, in all major cities of the world alongside with book distribution, then in no time we will conquer the whole world. Yes, we will conquer the world by Rath Yatra and book distribution. And I won't read the next one, it was read this morning, one or two small ones, and then we'll finish. You will be pleased to know that in the Western world also there will be held several grand-scale Rath Yatra festivals. This is in 1969, writing to, I think, one of his copies. Our temples in San Francisco, London, Boston, Buffalo, New York are all planning very gorgeous parades and ceremonies, very similar to the ones held in Puri. I was very proud of these Rath Yatras. Prabhupada would try to go to as many Rath Yatras as he could. That's how you got Prabhupada to come to your temple. You would put on a Rath Yatra and say, please Prabhupada come. Or you didn't have an installation of deities. In 1969, at the third San Francisco Festival, Srila Prabhupada spoke these words. I couldn't find them, I was searching and searching, I got them. They're in the back to Godhead, but I couldn't find the actual lecture itself. My dear American boys and girls, I thank you very much for your taking part in this great festival known as Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra. This inauguration of the Rath Yatra festival will bring a new chapter in the history of the world. It is that potent. It is stated in the Vedic literature that anyone who sees Lord Jagannath seated on this chariot, I think it should be his chariot, will never again have to take birth within this miserable material world. Anyone who sees Lord Jagannath on his chariot will never take birth again. So important is this festival. And I know that the Gurus are doing it. Parshan Prabhu and others are doing this festival all over the country, and others also teach you and others. It's such an amazing service. Just by doing this service, you are guaranteed to go back to God. There's no question about it. It's so dear to you. Today, make Prabhupada, if you could understand, or we could understand that Prabhupada is there dancing, would you be on your mobile? Would you be spacing out? Would you be talking about unnecessary things? No way. You would be completely absorbed in Srila Prabhupada's dancing also, singing at the top of our lungs. Sing at the top of your lungs, don't just walk along like a statue. Silent. Even the Madamba players, they wouldn't be allowed to play the Madamba unless they were singing. It wouldn't be allowed in those days. If you were playing the Madamba and not singing, then you'd have the Madamba taken away from you. You're out there to sing the holy name loudly. All our hearts. Pour the books, Distiru Prashadam, whatever else is going on out there. Preach the guests at the square nicely. Don't just go there, eat and go. This festival is for everyone. That's why Lord Jagannath is going out there. He's not going out there only for us to have a good time. He's going out there to bless everybody. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Jagannath Rath Yatra ki jai.